I was thinking about 1984, and man, if God does not have a sense of humor. It was a very different James in the 80s, and I already asked our kids what they thought I wanted to be when I grew up, and what was the first thing they said? A robot. I didn't stage that. But here I am above, and some of you, if you look at a young 80s James, may already recognize the little presents peppered around the cake there. And if you don't recognize the robots there, they're kind of small. Here's one I actually then made as a snowman, or I guess, snowbot. I guess that would be. Can anyone name that snowman robot, by the way, besides my wife? Any guesses? But who said Bumblebee? Chad Hoynacki right here in the front. There you go. Nailed it in one. That's Bumblebee. It might have helped if it was yellow snow, but that probably wouldn't have. Probably be wrong in a few different ways. Right? And I didn't pick 19. We sort of lined out the sermons. Jonathan and Ben got a couple. I didn't set out to get 1984, but 1984, if you didn't know, brought us the world of the Transformers. That was the year it kind of came out. Fictional transforming alien robots from the planet Cybertron. There you go. Developed in 1984 by Hasbro. And they've been in almost continuous circulation since its launch how many years? Well, 39 years ago. Never absent from American toy shelves for more than 18 months, and even during those relative periods of absence, still in other parts of the world. And unlike many brands, the big thing is rebooting everything now, Transformers never left. Right? In fact, as a result, it's grossed Hasbro more than $1 billion since its launch almost 40 years ago. 40th anniversary, it's going to be a big celebration for James next year. If just this year there was a new movie, a new comic book rebooted the story, right? It wasn't long ago that I brought in my Optimus Prime robot truck and had a little example. So it was 84. It's not my fault the example comes back up again here. But when they came into my life, I guess really a question we could ask ourselves was what was the fascination? And maybe not just for me, but for some of us with our childhood loves of stories or books, whatever we were into. With the Transformers, they weren't from here, were they? They were from somewhere else. They were exiles walking the earth, or rolling, whatever. But they were strangers, they were sojourners, and what were they doing? They were longing to get back to Cybertron, as a few of our astute geeks knew. Right? They are longing to get back to this place called Cybertron, a celestial city in the heavens far away, which actually was their real home. But they're stuck here now. They're stuck walking the earth until a great cosmic conflict can be reconciled, and when that's done, the hope is they return home. And even the young human who then befriends them, he hears about this wonderful place, and he longs to actually go see it, longs to go with them. He doesn't feel like he fits in here, doesn't feel like home to him, and he wishes he could be part of their family and be part of that great and glorious place. He wanted to be a robot, apparently, right? And he actually did in the episode. No, right. Right, but you have this idea of this shining city world of Cybertron. Well, you can guess what effect that might have on a young, awkward young boy who doesn't feel like he fits in here either, right? Not that I believed Cybertron was real, of course. I mean, if you asked me, even back then, if you asked 10-year-old James, Cybertron isn't a real place, right? I would have said, well, of course, it's fiction. But I want us to all think and ponder when we were between somewhere, 4, 10, 11, some of us 18, I don't know. For a while, was there not a season where you kind of hoped, you knew your fiction that you loved as a kid was fiction, but there was this little part of you when you lay down in bed at night, just a little further than what if to, could it be and I could wake up tomorrow? What if? What if I could wake up? What if my wardrobe went through to a magical place the next day? Right? What if it wasn't Transformers for you? What if it was a secret garden? What if it was the North Pole and living with Santa? Right? I think a lot of us probably had these days that we never would have admitted to mom and dad, but dreaming on our beds, we're like, I wish I could wake up tomorrow and it really would be real. I'd wake up transported to a galaxy far, far away, or be thrown into the future, and guess what? The Star Trek future is real. And we're a culture who's grown up on the fantasies of lives that have a narrative purpose and destiny and identity. And there's stories that we wish we were in that often include some kind of transcendent place of cosmic significance. There's a band even named The Bravery. They wrote about this experience that our generation has with fiction. And the TV, whether it's the movies, the books we read, whatever, the song goes, he says, I'm so homesick now for someone that I never knew. I'm so homesick for some place I will never be. Right? It's this realization that probably marks the transition from childhood to adulthood, when you finally let that go. When our hope for Cybertron or the North Pole or Pandora or Ewok Village or whatever, like, it finally dissolves and gives way and gives sway to something else. That's really kind of as we really start to embrace adulthood. The childish things are set aside, but the question is, what do we exchange it for? Right? Was the felt longing simply a desire to avoid the truth that we come from nothing, that we're a cosmic accident, that life has no meaning or cosmic transcendence, and then ultimately we die someday and go to nothing? And, just this morning, as I was getting ready for church, I turned on a station, and a song by Chris Cornell was playing. And he's not a Christian man, but he's singing this song as part of his band. His album is Audio Slave. He's like, in your house I long to be. And he talks about, he's a pagan, but I long for this place that I wish I could know. And he thinks about the ways he's been able to bless people, but also all of these things he knows that he's done wrong. And there's this deep-seated longing in him. Right, so the atheist would say, no, you give this up because you come from nothing, you go to nothing. But that's not what the psalmist is singing. And he's not crying out that maybe there's something. He knows what it is. Right? He says, I long and yearn for the courts of the Lord. My heart and flesh cry out for the living God. He's not homesick for someone he never knew. He knows that, the living God. He's not homesick for some place he will never be. As we'll see in a minute, the psalmist actually, he has a present understanding of this and a future. He's like, I can know this someone. I can go to this someplace. All right, and so we need to understand that our childhood fictions are often placebos for a very real longing. I never wanted Cybertron. I wanted the city of God. I just didn't know it. And the good news of Jesus Christ is that this place does exist and is attainable. There's a cosmic conflict, and for now, we're all in this place. But if we know the living God, then we're sojourners, we're exiles who anticipate Christ's ultimate victory and a transition to his kingdom. Amen? Right? So the narratives we cling to, and by the way, if we do that too tightly, they become idols. They drag us down. These placebos can actually distract you from the real medicine that you need, from the real thing. And it's basically we're trying to fill what Blaise Pascal calls the God-shaped hole. And he by the way, so you're like, we'll move from modern 21st century robot analogies to 1670. Blaise Pascal published his Pensées. There's a defense of Christianity. In this book, he says, what else does this craving and this helplessness proclaim but that there was once in man a true happiness, of which all that now remains is the empty print and trace? This he tries in vain to fill with everything around him, seeking in things that are not there the help he cannot find in those that are. Though none can help, since this infinite abyss can only be filled with an infinite and immutable object. In other words, by God himself. Right? Sadly, too many people spend their lives longing without having it quenched, or looking for something else to fill that longing for meaning. Business, family, sports, whatever. That they're not eternal things. They remain unfulfilled, and people wonder why their lives never seem fully satisfactory. There's no doubt many people, we can achieve a measure of happiness for a time, but it's ultimately a square peg in that God-shaped hole.